The Life of Muhammad and the Prophet, a year of the 11. The above-mentioned episode happened in his youth. Now we come to the most important event of his life, which took place just 8 years before his death. By then, he was the patriarch of the tribe. The Ethiopian governor of Yemen, Abraha al-Ashram, invited the revision in which the Kaaba was held by the Arabs. Being a staunch Christian, he built a big cathedral in Sana'a, the capital of Yemen, and ordered the Arabs to go there for pilgrimage instead. The order was ignored. Not only that, someone entered the cathedral and made it unclean. The wrath of Abraha knew no bounds. In his fury, he decided to avenge it by demolishing and desecrating the Kaaba itself. He advanced with the largest army toward Mecca. There were many elephants in his army. He himself rode a huge elephant. It was an animal which the Arabs had not seen before. Thus the year came to be known as Amul Fil, the year of the elephant, and it started an era for reckoning the years in Arabia. This remained in use until the day Umar bin Khattab, when, on the advice of Hazrat Ali ibn Talib, he replaced it with the era of Hijrah. When news of the advance of Abraha's army came, the Arabian tribes of Quraysh, Kinana, Khuzana, and Hudayl joined together to defend the Kaaba. Abraha sent a small contingent toward Mecca to capture the camels and young people. The contingent captured by many animals, including 200 of Abdul Muttalib's. Meanwhile, a man from the tribe of Himyar was sent by Abraha to Quraysh to advise them that Abraha had not come to fight them. His only aim was to demolish the Kaaba. But if the Quraysh resisted, the would be crushed. Then followed a frightening description of his huge army, which, admittedly, was much larger and better equipped than all the tribes put together. Abdul Muttalib replied to this ultimatum in this word: "By Allah, we don't want to fight him. So far as his house is concerned, it is the house of Allah. If Allah wants to save his house, he will save it, and if he leaves it unprotected, no one can save it." Then Abdul Muttalib with Amr bin Lu'abah and some other prominent leaders went to see Abraha. Abraha was informed beforehand of the prestige and position of Abdul Muttalib. Also, the personality of Abdul Muttalib was very impressive and awe-inspiring. When he entered Abraha's tent, the latter rose from his throne, warmly welcomed him, and seated him beside him on the carpet. During the conversation, Abdul Muttalib requested him to release his camels. Abraha was astonished. He said, "When my eyes fell upon you, I was not impressed by you, that had you requested me to withdraw my army and go back to Yemen, I would have granted that request. But now I have no respect for you. Why? Here I have come to demolish the house which is the religious center of yours and of your forefathers, and the foundation of your prestige and respect in Arabia. And you said nothing to save it? Instead, you ask me to return your few camels back to you?" Abdul Muttalib said, I am the owner of the camels, and his house has its own owner who will surely protect it. Abraha was stunned by his reply. He ordered the camels to be released, and the deputation of Quraysh returned. On the second day, Abraha issued orders to his army to enter Mecca. Abdul Muttalib told the Meccans to leave the city and to seek refuge in the surrounding hills, but he, together with some leading members of Quraysh, remained within the presence of the Kaaba. Abraha sent someone warned them to vacate the building. When the messenger came, he asked the people who their leader was. All finger pointed toward Abdul Muttalib. He was again invited to go to Abraha, where he had a talk with him. When he came out, he was heard saying, "The owner of his house, it is the finder, and I am sure he will save it from the attack of the adversaries and will not dishonor the servant of his house." Abdul Muttalib then took hold of the door of the Kaaba and crying to Allah, prayed in the following word of poetry: "O Allah, surely a man given his own home, therefore thou shalt protect thy own house. Their craft and their worth can never overcome their worth. O Allah, help thy own people against the value of the cross and its worshippers." Then he too went to the summit of the hill, Abu Qubais. Abraha advanced with his army. Seeing the walls of the Kaaba, he ordered its demolition. No sooner had the army reached near the Kaaba than an army of Allah appeared from the western side. A dark cloud of small birds, known in Arabic as ababil, overshadowed the entire army of Abraha. Each bird had 3 pebbles, 2 in its claw and 1 in its beak. A rain of the pebbles poured down from the bird, and in a few minutes the whole army was destroyed. Abraha himself was seriously wounded. He fled towards Yemen but died on the way. It is to this important event that Allah refers in chapter 105. Have you not seen how your Lord dealt with the companies of the elephant? Did he not make their treacherous plan go astray? And he sent against them birds in flocks, striking them with stones of baked clay, so he reached them like strawberry eaten up. Some historians have tried to minimize the impact of the divine intervention by suggesting that the army perished because of an epidemic of smallpox. But such an explanation creates more puzzle than it solves. How was it that the whole army was seized by the epidemic just when it was advancing on the Kaaba? How was it that not a single soldier survived that epidemic? Why was it that no Meccan caught the contagious epidemic? Moreover, if there was no epidemic in Mecca before or after that sudden burst of the plague, where did the epidemic come from? This epoch-making episode happened in 570 AD. It was in the same year that the Holy Prophet of Islam was born to Abdullah and Aminah.